Johnny Appleseed, or John Chapman, is an American icon and legend, known for spreading food in the form of apples and apple trees all over the land to hungry pioneers. But as we will see in today's episode, he may not be all he is cracked up to be by Hollywood storytelling. Was he settled upon for a quick buck by entertainment? Or have our morals of what's good and bad simply changed as a society? Number 1. Bad example. John Chapman, also known as Johnny Appleseed, was born on September 26, 1774, in Leominster, Massachusetts, the second child of Nathaniel and Elizabeth Chapman. 18-year-old John would convince his younger brother of just 11, Nathaniel Cooley Chapman, to journey with him west. In 1805, the Chapman family would be able to find them in Ohio and rescue Nathaniel Cooley. Once Nathaniel Cooley was recovered by his family, John would run off again, this time without his brother. John would begin learning how to be an orchardist from Mr. Crawford, who owned apple orchards. Number 2. Social butterfly. John Chapman is often portrayed as a vagabond, roaming the lands, planting apples, and not making personal contact. In truth, though, he was a missionary, commonly spreading his new church gospel among people. He has been described extensively as living in Fort Wayne, Indiana. He would teach people scriptures, and then stay with them if they would have him for the night. However, John would also argue his religion frequently to people in towns he visited. Number 3. Opulent humility. Funny enough, Johnny Appleseed was actually quite wealthy. He had enough money to buy at least one horse and many lands. Over 1,300 acres according to official records. But he would live in harsh conditions, barefoot and with whatever clothes he could find, thanks to his odd Swedenborg religious practices. One account states that he was sleeping in the snow with nothing but a fire. Another states that he would not harm mosquitoes, and even put out his fire after a mosquito flew into the flames. Number 4. Giver of spirits, not sustenance. According to the author Michael Pollan, John Chapman was against grafting. Because of this, he believes that John's apples were not good for eating, and were used entirely for cider. Michael says, quote, "Really what Johnny Appleseed was doing, and the reason he was welcome in every cabin in Ohio and Indiana, was he was bringing the gift of alcohol to the frontier. He was our American Dionysus." Close quote. This was also during the time of the Whiskey Rebellion, when whiskey was heavily taxed, and protests were occurring because alcohol was hard to get, due to beer not transporting well and rum trade being disrupted at the time. Number 5. Wreaking havoc on the environment. Sadly, the real truth about Johnny is that he went about introducing invasive species, thinking he was doing good for the land and the people. But he wouldn't simply sow the seeds willy-nilly. That's an old American myth. He had fenced nurseries where the seedlings could grow, and then he planted those willy-nilly all over the land. He also planted dog fennel, believing it to be a medical herb, but now is considered a widespread noxious weed. He literally loved to death by choking life with life. Sometimes doing nothing is better than doing what you believe is best when imposing your belief on nature. Perhaps it is best to simply let nature run its own course. Though, are we not all part of nature? Isn't anything we do considered natural by this extent.
I'll see you next time.